Hello class, it's my sincere hope that you're doing well, still keeping safe, and I take this opportunity to welcome you for this session, and this is our first session for this particular unit, which is theoretical perspectives in early childhood. And as we begin the course, I would like us to get to understand what's the purpose of this course unit. This particular unit is supposed to acquaint the learners or the students with theoretical perspectives that are relevant to early childhood education. It's important when you get to understand these perspectives. I believe so far as a student you have interacted with various theories, and from these theories we derive perspectives which do influence our practice. In this particular course, the objectives to be achieved includes the following: should be able to explain various theoretical perspectives in ECD, should be able to analyze the implication of various theoretical perspectives to practice, discuss these theories which are relevant to early childhood education and development, and also we should be able to assess relevance of these theories to early childhood development. The outline of this particular course will be as outlined here. We'll have introduction of the course. We'll go through theoretical perspectives. We'll go through different theories, because the unit is all about theories that are relevant to early childhood. So we'll pick key theories that are very relevant and important to early childhood, and also go through or discuss the different ways in which theories can be applied in early childhood education. Realize this bit is very important, application of the theories, because you may go through theories, understand them, but after you have understood the theory, so what next? It is very important when at this level we get to know how do we apply these theories. And it's not just a matter of knowing, but in real practice we get to apply these theories. So to begin our course, it's important we get to define just a few terms to be at the same level. We are talking about theories, so it is important for us to understand what is a theory. I believe out there you can also define for me what a theory is. What is a theory? We have different definition of what a theory is, but if you just look deeply at the definitions that we are having here, they all come to kind of a same, they give us the same meaning. So a theory can be defined as a set of principles on which the practice of an activity is based. Again, a theory can be defined as a scientifically acceptable general principle or body of principles which are offered to explain a phenomena. It can also be defined a principle that has been formed as an attempt to explain things that have already been substantiated by data. And from just the three definitions that we have gone through, each of the definition is having the word principle. Principle, meaning that when you're defining a theory, one thing that is coming out, a theory is a set of principles, kind of principles that analyze practice, principles that explain occurrences of things. And these principles are not just from nowhere. They are principles that are developed out of scientific studies which have been verified again and again, and various scholars have agreed on the findings, and as a result, those findings become a theory. So we say that theories, in conclusion, we can say that they are big ideas that come from research and wise thinking over time. And you realize wherever there is a theory, we normally have a scholar behind it. There's somebody behind any theory that is existing. And for people to agree that this is a theory, there are other scholars who come in to verify, is really what we are getting from this scholar true? And once they establish that it's true, then it is adopted as something that can be used for practice and also for explanation of phenomena in our society. Moving on. In early childhood, theories that are of importance to us, we refer to them as developmental theories. And therefore, it is important we also get to understand what is a developmental theory. A developmental theory is an organized system of principles and explanation of certain aspects of child development. Certain aspects of child development, meaning you come across theories that explain how children develop cognitively. There are theories that explains how children develop emotionally, how children develop socially, how children develop their personality. So what are the functions of these developmental theories that you'll be looking at? I believe so far you have interacted with several developmental theories, and from those theories that you have interacted with, you can tell the functions that they do serve. They help to describe, explain, and predict behavior. With a theory, you can describe, you can explain a behavior. For example, a parent may come to you saying that my child is behaving this way, and I'm kind of wondering why this kind of behavior. You realize there are several theories that help us to explain behavior among young children at different stages of development. And again, the theories, they guide and give meaning to what we see. Why is this child behaving this way? You realize there are a number of theories that will tell us that this child is behaving this way because maybe of the stage of development that he or she is in. And when we get to understand that, we are able to work with them and to guide them appropriately. Again, the developmental theories helps us to distinguish between typical patterns of development from unique patterns of development. The theories that are there, which are existing, gives us stages of development. Like a certain theory may say that in this stage of development, it is expected that a child ought to have acquired certain milestones. And if those milestones have not been developed by a child, that may be telling you that there's something unique here because the child is not fitting in that pattern of development. And when you recognize there is a unique pattern of development, as a caregiver, as a professional, you can give professional advice about how the child can be assisted if he or she is unique. It guides in decision making on issues related to children. Different theories are of use to various practitioners because a certain theory may help you to know what do I need to do when I'm interacting with these children. How can I make the child behavior better in such an environment? And you realize that in many instances, as professionals, our decisions get influenced a lot by theories that we have interacted with. So we also need to understand what's a theoretical perspective. The unit that we are going through is theoretical perspective. So what is a perspective? So a perspective, it says that, is a set of assumptions about reality, which informs the questions that we ask and the kind of answers that we arrive at. So a perspective, in other words, we may look at as a lens through which you look at things. You look at a behavior. Which lens are you using? What is the color of the lens that you're using? The lens that you use greatly determines how you get to understand things. It can also be looked at as a frame. What frame are we using when we are looking at things or occurrences within the environment? And various theories that we'll be interacting with, they give us perspectives. They give us a perspective or a kind of a specific lens that we use to understand the behavior of young children within the environment where we are in. And as we go through this particular unit, we'll be familiarizing ourselves with these perspectives. And then we'll be asking ourselves, we should ask ourselves, which perspective have been influencing us in our practice. So each theory that we'll be interacting with, it has a perspective. It has a perspective, and this should come out very clearly whenever you go through any theory. And this theory, they examine, or this theory tries to explain development from different angles, taking into consideration 4 main primary controversies. And the controversies are highlighted here. We have the first controversy, which is nature versus nurture controversy. So every theory tries to kind of emphasize on what greatly influences the process of growth and development. Is it nature? When you're talking of nature, you're referring to biological and genetical forces or factors. Or is it nurture? Is it the environment that greatly determines how one is growing and developing? The next controversy, we have universality versus diversity. Various theories again will ask themselves this, or will try to answer this question: do all individuals go through common experiences which lead to kind of similar outcomes, or do people go through diverse or disparate experiences which brings about diverse outcomes in the process of development? The third controversy is about the child. In the process of growth and development, is the child an active agent, or is the child a passive agent in the process of growth and development? This, again, it's a view. There are some theories that you have a view like the child is active. Another may have the perspective that the child is a passive agent. Then the third one, we have qualitative changes versus quantitative changes. How do these changes come by? Are these changes things that just happen suddenly and lead to significant changes, or are they gradual changes that brings to change in behavior gradually, or development from one level to another? So the various theories that we'll be looking at, they normally, all of them, try to address these 4 controversies. And as we continue to interact with these theories, we should be able to explain and discuss even further how the 4 controversies are addressed by those theories or that we look at. The way each theory addresses each of the perspectives that each of the controversies that we have looked at, it brings or leads to a perspective. And that's how we get to multiplicity of perspectives, because there are several perspectives, several theoretical perspectives, depending on how one looks at the 4 primary controversies that we have looked at. And they lead to various perspectives, and we'll be looking at these perspectives, which we have classified them into 3. We have maturationist perspective, we have environmentalist or behaviorist perspective, and we have constructivist or interactionist perspective. We'll be looking at each of these perspectives in a general way, and we'll get now to look at them or these perspectives in a deeper way when we get now to individual theories. So the first perspective, which is the maturationist perspective. So theories that fall under this perspective hold a kind of a common belief about the process of growth of development. Like maturationists believe that genetic factors play a larger role in development than environmental factors. And this means that that which the child has inherited from the parents is the one that greatly determines how that child is growing and development. And they also believe that the biological process of development is something that happens in a predictable, or that can be easily predicted, because it kind of follows a programmed pattern. The manner in which a child will grow and develop is predictable, and it's based on maturation. As the child is maturing, they get to move from one stage to another. And they also believe that the child is expected to acquire knowledge naturally and automatically. And that happens as maturation is happening, meaning it's like the environment should not apply a lot of force trying to make the child understand things, because if eventually they have matured, if they are developing cognitively, they kind of automatically get to run. And that means that the process of growth and development makes them ready for learning. It's kind of not us as teachers or parents who make them ready for learning. It's something that happens naturally. That's a maturationist perspective of the child and how the development process is taking place. Therefore, if a practitioner out there, for example, maybe as a teacher, is influenced greatly by the maturationist perspective, this teacher will function more as an observer of the child, and as a provider of an environment. But this environment does not impose things on the child. It does not put demands on the child. It allows the child to do what they are ready to do. And as a teacher, again, who is influenced by this perspective, it means that you will kind of support growth, but not in a very active way, but in a passive manner. In a passive manner, you're going to support the child in order to run. And therefore, I would like you to reflect on this perspective, theoretical perspective of a maturationist, as a practitioner in early childhood, wherever you might be practicing. It's good to reflect on your practice and ask yourself, as a professional, are there instances in which my decision or my practice have been influenced by the maturationist perspective? Can you pick instances in which you have been influenced by this perspective? I'm leaving that to you as a question, as a reflection question. Ask yourself. Next, we move on to the next perspective, where we have environmentalist or behaviorist perspective. So environmentalists are also known as behaviorists, and from this perspective, what the people who are influenced greatly by this perspective believe in is that they believe is that knowledge exists outside the child. And therefore, if it is existing outside the child, it means that it should be acquired piece by piece as the child gets to develop skills that they need for their day-to-day life. And this means that the child kind of should be pampered, should be kind of given information by the teachers. So with this, we may see kind of even a memorization, because you want the child to acquire knowledge. Next, development is seen as progressive, and the changes that happens in a child happen as a result of influence from the environment. And in other words, we are saying that those changes will be as a result of being shaped by the environment, meaning that with the environmentalist or behaviorist, the environment plays a key role in shaping the process of growth and development in every aspect, be it physically, cognitively, or even social, emotionally. So a teacher who is greatly influenced by this perspective, if one be termed as a behaviorist teacher, it will be a teacher who attends most of the time to supply appropriate reinforcement for the child, so that learning can take place, or so that the child can display the expected behavior. Meaning, if one wants a child to produce a certain response, it means that the teacher should put effort in planning and thinking about what kind of reinforcement do I need to put in place for this child. And the teacher also works toward providing teacher-directed learning activities. Meaning, a teacher who is influenced by behaviorist perspective can make use of more of teacher-centered approaches. And in teacher-centered approaches, the teacher is the sole source of knowledge which needs to be passed from the teacher to the child. So in such instances, we see that children will be engaged more in rote activities where there isn't much interaction between the teacher and the child, where the teacher tries to understand the specific needs of the child that needs to be taken care of. And therefore, I would also like that you reflect on yourself as a practitioner and ask yourself, am I also influenced by behaviorist perspective in my practice? Then we move on to the third perspective. That perspective is where we have the constructivist or interactionist perspective. And according to constructivist, these are theories or where we have individuals who believe that knowledge is internally constructed. It is socially and culturally mediated, meaning that for a child to acquire knowledge to develop cognitively, they need to be actively involved. The society is required. The people within the environment where the child is are required in the process of growth and development of the child, meaning that these are people who will view learners as active participants in the process of learning. in their environment. And that learning does not happen in isolation. It happens through interaction with the environment and those that are around them. And then they will view also the process of growth and development as one that also happens in stages. And a child moves from one stage from another with support from those who are within the environment. Individuals within the environment stimulates even progression from one level to the next as they encourage the children to acquire skills that they need in engaging in different activities within their environment. So if one is greatly influenced by constructivist view, and in this case maybe we say we have a constructivist teacher out there or an interactionist teacher. This is a teacher who guides learners to individual inquiring, who provides a conducive environment for interaction, meaning this is a teacher that will encourage interaction among learners because we learn from one another. It is a practitioner, again, who will provide meaningful experiences for young learners. One who understands that children don't get into activities just for the sake of, but out of the activities they engage in, there's a meaning that they can derive out of it. There's learning that gets to take place. A practitioner who again communicates appropriately and meaningfully to these young children so that you can nurture their progression. Meaning that when these children even come to you posing some questions, you not kind of dismiss them and say like, what kind of a question are you asking? But it will be a practitioner who will pay attention to what they are asking and communicate appropriately. Because with the proper communication, with the meaningful communication, again, you stimulate them to progress from one level to the next level of development. And therefore, so far we have seen the three perspectives: the maturationist, the behaviorist, and the interactionist. So there are various theories that we will go through and which I believe you have even interacted with so far. So I would like you to give examples of theories that fall under each of the three perspectives that we have looked at, and then analyze how. I would like you to analyze how the three perspectives that we have looked at respond to the four primary controversies that we looked at. I hope you can remember the four controversies that we have looked at: nature versus nurture, universality versus diversity, child as an active participant versus a passive participant. Analyze how this perspective responds to those four primary controversies. Like, I would like you to be able to tell me how a behaviorist teacher, or from a behaviorist perspective point of view, how are those four controversies addressed? And as you continue, as you do that, I believe you get to understand and internalize what we have just looked at today in our session. So this brings us to the end of lesson 1, and thank you for paying attention. I encourage you to be a scholar that reads wide. So continue researching on your own. Read these theories to understand their perspectives and how they deal or how they address the four main primary controversies. Thank you very much. Have a nice time.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era. and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.